Nearly half of all security clearance denials that go to appeal come down to one thing, and it is not spying, it is money. And there is one move that sinks more good people than any debt or any mistake ever does, a move you make with a pen on a single form before the investigation even starts. We will get to exactly what it is.
Most denials come down to money, not espionage. I am Erica, and that surprises almost everyone. The picture in your head is a foreign agent and a secret handshake. The real picture is unpaid debt, a missed court date, and a credit report.
And keeping a clearance turns out to be harder than getting one, which is where most people get blindsided. Same rule book across every branch, by the way, so this is for the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, Space Force, and the Coast Guard alike.
Hi all, I'm Emma, and let me define the thing first because people conflate two ideas. A clearance is two parts. One is eligibility, the government deciding you can be trusted with classified information. The other is need to know, your job actually requiring access.
Fenrir here, and I want to poke the comfortable assumption right away. Everyone thinks the danger is some dramatic secret in your past. Wrong. The thing that actually torpedoes most applicants is small and boring, and they do it to themselves.
He is right, and that is the whole reason for this episode. Disclose, mitigate, and document beats hoping a problem stays buried every single time. Before we walk the process, let me set up the visual, because a clearance is a pipeline, not a single yes or no. 5 stages, in order, and picture it as a funnel that keeps narrowing. You submit the SF-86, an investigator builds your file, and an adjudicator weighs it. You are granted eligibility, and then continuous vetting watches the whole time you hold it.
And notice the funnel never fully closes. Continuous vetting means the file stays open for as long as you serve in that role. We will come back to that, because it changes how you should behave the day after you are cleared, not just the day you apply.
Before we open the form, Emma, there is a question that lands under almost every clearance video, and I want you to put it to the room.
Yes, and it is the fear underneath all of this. People ask, if I have debt or a rough patch in my past, am I automatically disqualified from a clearance? It is the single most common worry, and the answer is not what most assume.
Short answer, almost never automatically, and we will earn that answer the right way. Start with the levels and the 2 investigations because the access you need decides how deep they dig. So let us answer Emma's question by first sorting out the levels because the level you need decides how deep the government digs.
There are 3 access levels: climbing in sensitivity, confidential, secret, and top secret. Each one reflects how much damage to national security the wrong disclosure could cause. And one point everyone gets wrong, your rank does not set your level.
Secret maps to a Tier 3 investigation, and top secret maps to a Tier 5. That is the clean pairing to memorize. Tier 3 for secret, Tier 5 for top secret. The number is the depth of the dig.
And there is a term people trip over, SCI, sensitive compartmented information. It is not a 4th level above top secret. It is special access granted on top of a top secret clearance walled off into compartments, each on a strict need to know.
Let me put the 2 investigations side by side, because the difference is not subtle. Both look back about 10 years. But what they do with those 10 years splits hard.
Precisely. A Tier 3 is largely a records exercise. It pulls your credit, runs you through federal and state databases, and verifies your history with limited fieldwork. A Tier 5 sends investigators to your neighbors and co-workers, and goes much harder on foreign contacts and finances.
So a deeper look is automatically a worse experience.
No, and that is the assumption I want to correct. Deeper is not the same as harsher. The Tier 5 is more thorough, but a clean, honest applicant has nothing to fear from thoroughness. The thoroughness only hurts the person who left something out.
And that is the through line. Your job sets the level sets the depth, and honesty sets your outcome. Erica, take us into the form itself, because that is where honesty either holds or breaks. Before we keep going, one small favor that actually moves the needle. If this is landing for you, tap like, then subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the rest. 2 taps, completely free, and it pushes this in front of more people who need it.
The form has an official name worth knowing because it tells you what it is. It is Standard Form 86, the questionnaire for national security positions.
And it is no longer the old EQIP system. You complete and electronically certify it inside the eApp portal, the National Background Investigation Services system that replaced the old one. Same form, modern front door.
Let me walk the sections because the form is long and the scary thing is just its size. Picture it as a stack of labeled boxes, each one a slice of the last 10 years of your life.
Each band is a place people get tripped up by guessing. Addresses, jobs, and dates from a decade ago feel fuzzy, so applicants estimate. Estimates that conflict with the record read as discrepancies, and discrepancies generate follow-up.
Vague or guessed answers slow the whole case down. That is the practical cost. Every gap an investigator cannot resolve from the record becomes a phone call, and every phone call adds weeks to a timeline that already runs 90 to 120 days for secret.
So pull your own records before you type a single answer. Bank statements, your credit report, old leases, travel dates. Answer with names and dates, not your best guess. Boring advice, and it is the single biggest time saver on the whole form.
Emma, there is the question that sits right under this one, the one that decides cases. Hand it over.
Yes, and it is the fork everyone faces. If something in my past looks bad, should I disclose it on the form, or stay quiet and hope it never comes up? That is the decision this whole episode turns on.
So to Emma's question, you need to know what they actually weigh. Adjudicators do not improvise. They run your file against 13 written guidelines.
13 guidelines lettered A through M, and they come from one source, Security Executive Agent Directive 4, in force since June of 2017. Allegiance, foreign influence, personal conduct, finances, drugs, criminal conduct, and more. One framework, every agency.
But the guidelines are not equal in practice. Some almost never appear. A handful do nearly all the damage. Let me rank the ones that actually sink cases by how often they show up in denial appeals.
Finances are the #1 reason cases are denied. Guideline F alone is more than 48% of the cases that reach the Defense Office of Hearings and Appeals. The logic is simple and old. If you cannot manage your own money, the worry is you could be pressured by someone who offers it.
Foreign influence and drug use round out the top risks. Foreign influence is about divided loyalty, close ties abroad that could be leveraged. Drug involvement is straightforward, but notice what is climbing right behind finances, and it is the one you control completely.
Personal conduct, Guideline E, and here is the brutal part. Lying on the form is its own disqualifier, separate from whatever you lied about. You can survive the debt, but you often cannot survive hiding it.
So the lesson is just stay quiet and let it slide.
The exact opposite, and that is the trap. Staying quiet is what converts a survivable problem into a fatal one. Disclosure is the play.
He is right, and here is the honest fork. If you disclose a past debt or a single old arrest, the adjudicator can apply mitigation. The rules literally reward someone who paid it down, set up a plan, or has stayed clean for years. If you hide it and continuous vetting surfaces it later, you have handed them Guideline E, and lack of candor is far harder to forgive than the original issue.
So the verdict is not soft. Most issues can be mitigated if you face them head on. So disclose, document the fix, and let the record show growth. The one path with almost no mitigation is the lie, and that is the whole game. We have covered the form and the guidelines, but there is a layer only someone who knows the adjudication standard well can explain. How a human actually reads a messy file. So we are going to put a call through to someone who knows the adjudication guidelines cold to answer the question every applicant with a rough patch is really asking. Let me get him on the line now.
Glad to join. The first thing I would tell anyone is that adjudication is a whole-person judgment, not a checklist. No single guideline is a trapdoor.
So they are not just totting up bad marks against you?
Not at all. A single issue rarely sinks you, but patterns do. One late payment from 5 years ago that you fixed is noise. A steady stream of new delinquencies is a pattern.
So the mitigation factors written into the guidelines, those are real and not just decoration.
Mitigation is built into the rules on purpose. Each guideline lists conditions that reduce the concern, like paying down a debt, time away from a one-off mistake, or honesty when first asked. Show the debt, then show the receipts that prove you handled it.
Once I am cleared, though, the hard part is over, right?
That is the most expensive assumption people make. Continuous vetting watches you for as long as you hold the clearance. Under Trusted Workforce 2.0, the old 5- and 10-year reinvestigations are being replaced by ongoing automated checks. More than 3.8 million people are already enrolled, and your credit and arrest records are checked continuously, not once a decade.
So a new arrest or a new debt can trigger a fresh look, even years after you were cleared.
It can, and here's the move that saves clearances. Self-report problems early, before the system finds them. If you get a DUI or you fall behind on a mortgage, tell your security officer first. Self-reporting reads as responsibility. Getting caught by an automated alert reads as concealment, and that pulls you right back to Guideline E.
Whole person, not a checklist. Patterns, not single moments. And self-report before they find it. Thank you, Professor. That is the part service members worry about most and understand least.
Glad to help. Hold one idea and the rest follows. They are not grading your past. They are grading whether you can be trusted right now.
If today gave you a single rule, make it this one. They are not grading your past. They are grading whether you can be trusted right now. The form, the tiers, the guidelines, all of it is just that one question about today. Lock in the one idea that runs through all of this. A clearance is rarely lost over the issue itself, it is lost over hiding the issue.
So here's what future you keeps if you act tonight. Pull your own credit report and your address history before you ever open the SF-86, and you walk into that form with every answer backed by a record instead of a guess.
And there is a thread we left open. Next, we break down how military pay, debt, and a thin emergency fund quietly become a clearance risk, and how to get ahead of it.
If this made the clearance process feel less like a black box, hit like and subscribe so we can keep building this all-branch military library, and the next breakdown lands right in your feed.
And here is the one we cannot answer for you, because only you can. Where do you land on the fork? Disclose the rough patch up front, or stay quiet and hope it never surfaces? Tell us in the comments.
History rhymes. Listen for the rhyme.
Lewis, that was a keeper. 8.7 and a request for a follow-up episode. This is Professor Erica. Thanks for watching and signing off.